You will sleep better than you have ever slept. You've never been this relaxed. Are you ready to change your life?
I'm Rusty Diamond, certified hypnotist. You don't need to leave your house. You can stay in your bed. You can stay in your favorite chair. You just need a computer or your phone. You can get a hold of me. Stay at home. I'll make your life better.
Hypnosis is great.com.
It's Rusty Diamond, motherfucker. It's Rusty Diamond, motherfucker.
Yo, man. Hello, Miss Rusty. What is up, everyone? It is World Hypnotist, World Hypnosis Day, World Hypnotism Day, World Hypnotist Day. I don't remember. You guys celebrate fucking hypnosis, is what it is today. And so, since it is, and since I was just reminded that it is, that's why my special guest is who he is. And welcome to the podcast, the public access podcast here on the Rusty Diamond Podcast Network, the RDPN. RDPN. Yeah, that's what's happening. So, yeah, not only is it World Hypnosis, I need to figure out what it is exactly he said that it was World Hypnosis Day, but it's also I don't know. Also, Wrestle Kingdom was on just a little bit ago. I'm gonna go watch that after this is done. But that's not what this is about. This isn't about wrestling. That's a different podcast. So I'm bringing my special guest right here, right now. And my special guest right here, right now is back again. And my special guest is Jonathan Royle. There he is. How you doing?
I'm good, thanks, Rusty. How are you?
Pretty great. I like your shirt. It's a good shirt. Goes
I have to be wearing them. I got several at Christmas from my daughter, so it's like, well, I like them anyway, but it's nice that I'll be able to show her this when it goes out later today and go, look, wearing one of the t-shirts she got me for Christmas.
Absolutely, yeah. And I mean, why not? That's what it's for. It's a video podcast, so you can wear whatever you want, and it's how it goes. It's you gotta. I mean, your shirt is what it is, what it is, and what it gets to be for whatever today. And yeah, what do I have on my? I have on my cartoon stuff too. So I got South Park stuff. So
some people look at it and go, adults wearing cartoony tops, so that's childish. But you know what? Fuck them. Excuse the language. One of the biggest problems that adults, and I use the term loosely, have is the fact that they repress and suppress their. I know I'm talking metaphorically here. I'm not saying it's like Alien the film. There's some living being inside you that's trying to break out, but that part of you that is still a child at heart. We all are, but society conditions us that we've got to be grown up and do the adult things when we get to a certain age. And of course, you've got to, in certain contexts, do that. But it doesn't mean that you've got to draw a line under everything. Be playful, enjoy life, have fun,
Right. Yeah, and there's no reason not to. And there's who's gonna say you can't? What adult? You're an adult too. So, what adult is gonna say, hey, you can't do that? They can say it all they want, but it doesn't mean a damn thing. It's still gonna
unless the person hearing it allows it to mean something to them. And sadly, that will tend to be somebody, and this is quite relevant because today, as we do this, it's World Hypnotism Day, the 4th of January 2024. 20 years since it started, and it's the yearly day that is supposed to promote how hypnosis can help you improve your life. But forget the word hypnosis for a minute. It's all about ultimately state of mind. And if you're walking around scarred, metaphorically, psychologically, emotionally, spiritually, or whatever, on any level, from one or multiple things that have happened during your life that you've not dealt with, and you may not even be consciously aware of it, because at the time each individual thing might not have seemed that much of a deal, that it just kind of consciously you forgot about it, but it went into the filing cabinet of your mind. But over the years, those little bits of negativity built up, and they can be all there together, building together towards having a negative impact on your self-confidence or your self-image or your self-esteem or your self-love, you know, your self-identity ultimately. And if there is an imbalance there, if somebody then goes, what are you doing wearing that? That's a childish t-shirt, rather than just letting it bounce off your back like, well, they're entitled to their opinion, and feeling sorry for that person for clearly also repressing or suppressing their childlike innocence that's still somewhere within us all, it can, for some people who've not dealt with their shit from the past, it can make them feel bad because it touches on things that probably did happen when they were younger that they don't want to, although they're not necessarily consciously aware of it. But there's some warning sign going. On the one hand, there's part of the brain going, this shit, if you dealt with it, you'd be able to move on. But then there's like the devil on the shoulder going, don't come near this, it's painful. And, you know, so yeah, if there are people who think, you know what, if someone said that to me, I'd feel hurt, then it's probably a signpost that you've got stuff that you could do with dealing with, so that you can kind of be more psychologically, emotionally, spiritually free, as it were.
Right. And I mean, how much of that is happening right now with it? Just, I don't, like, I talk about this a lot with, I mean, anything with this. I mean, so much of the stuff that's been, you know, repressed in some way is going to come up eventually. And whether it takes an act of something, you know, paralyzing you, crippling you with some sort of emotional response to be like, oh, this is something I need to work on. This is something like, if it happens again, I want to be more prepared. You know, like be, you know, expecting other people to tippy toe around something that they have no clue that you're going through is near impossible to be able to expect or, you know, set up, even if you're in a quote unquote safe space or something to that effect. I mean, the stuff's still going to come at you somehow. And, you know, like, I don't know, there's so much. I wish I would have learned anything about this at a younger age. And it's something that just wasn't, at least where I grew up, I mean, wasn't a thing. It was, you know, just don't go near it.
Unfortunately, yeah, unfortunately, they don't. The things that you would think, and I don't want to get all conspiracy theorist sounding, but you know, if the powers that be that run the world really wanted the best for people, then why the heck don't they teach them through what they brand and market as the education system? Things from an early age like budgeting, accounting, looking after your money, investing it, being self-sufficient, being able to grow your own veg if you wanted to. Life's proper life skills, including, of course, how to reprogram and manage your personal laptop computer, your brain. But they don't in the main, and you've got to ask yourself on some level, why not? Is it because by people ending up in a state where there are imbalances, emotional imbalances, spiritual imbalances, psychological imbalances, where they're walking around with metaphorically shit on their shoulders, self-blame, shame, guilt, and regret because their unconscious mind is still viewing things like a child would at the time who didn't have a full understanding of the world, and yet that's weighing them down. But now they're adults, but it's still weighing them down because it's not been resolved. It's still negatively impacting them. This makes them easier to manipulate from the people who know how we are programmed, so to speak, and how we react and stuff, which sure as hell your governments and such like do know. I mean, bloody hell. I know there's people that will be going, this all sounds a bit conspiracy-fied, but in brief, there is documented fact that anyone can go and find for themselves that in the 40s after the war, that the American government set up a project, well, various projects, but the first one that will take you down the rabbit hole is MK Ultra, Mind Control Ultra. And this was about using trauma-based mind control to control people, to manipulate them. And this is no conspiracy. They did it, and apparently apparently it was supposed to be about finding ways to help people who suffered from shell shock, as it was called then. It's now called post-traumatic stress disorder, but after the war, people suffered traumas. But obviously, whenever they do anything, even if it does have a positive intent, in the process of finding a way of helping people with shell shock or PTSD, trauma-related things, they obviously find out the flip side because they experiment with everything. So as a consequence, they find the best ways of getting people into that frozen fight, flight, freeze, shite form, pain, negativity state of trauma as well. And the most subtlest ways that are almost invisible to the observer. And not surprisingly, then they start to use them to influence and control the mass populace. That was one thing you can go and research yourself, because I don't want to, have people going, so don't take my word for it, go and look. There was another thing in the another one, they had Operation Mockingbird, so by the CIA, which was to infiltrate with what they call actors, but people that they were in control of, the CIA, people into the media. So they would end up being newsreaders or journalists in papers and whatnot. Now, the official storyline is that this was dissolved and ended in the 70s. Okay, that's the official storyline. But if you were going to step something like that up to the next level and make it worldwide, wouldn't you say you dissolved it to remove all attention? I mean, that's just my opinion. Some people would say it did end then. Well, if you go digging and look, you see that it's odd, isn't it? That, well, it's not that odd when you consider it, but that of the world's mainstream, or some call it now lamestream media, the legacy media, whether it's television stations, radio stations, or now online platforms or print things, 95% of them, the other 5% is kind of citizen journalism, like what's happening here. 95% of them are owned by like 4 or 5 multi-billionaires.
Right.
Thousands, tens, hundreds of thousands of news channels, online, offline, are owned by just 4 or 5 rich billionaires. And they own ones that apparently have, each of those will own outlets that appear to have this political output and state of mind, and yet they also own ones with conflicting views. What's that about? Oh, could it be because part of the sole objective of the media is to cause a state of disorientation and confusion in the mass populace, a state of division where people disagree with each other and argue? So by stoking the fires, that person thinking that way is wrong, no, that person's wrong, so that it conditions the populace to disagree with each other. And while they're focused on that, rather than focused on helping each other and, treating each other the way they'd like to be treated themselves, and focusing on love rather than hate, or calmness and resolution rather than conflict and division, the people are then blind to what's going on above them, and the fact that the powers that be the media will break this news story that looks scandalous. Well, everyone buys into it, arguing one side or the other. It's good, it's bad, or whatever. But invariably, when these big scandals hit the media, have a look what's happening in England, the Houses of Parliament or the House of Lords, or in America in the Senate and stuff. What new laws are being passed? What amendments are being made that either don't get reported on at all, or if they do get reported on in the media, it's a tiny little bit near the back of the paper, while they've got some sensational scandal near the front to distract you from what's really going on.
And then with that big scandal and everyone fighting against each other, you get into that, you get the mass of the population into this fight or flight mode when and when you're in that, you can't take in any new information. Like you can't process things on a level where you're able to think about, you know, why any of this is happening, or like what, able to work into it, and you just take it in. There's no filter of, I can't think of the word right now.
Well, when you're in that fight, flight, freeze, or shite or fawn, the sympathetic nervous system, if you're trapped in that, pain area, disorientation, confusion, all different labels for the same thing, then you are reacting a sort of caveman instinctive and also highly emotionally heightened level, as opposed to when you're calm and relaxed, and are firmly in the relaxation response of the parasympathetic nervous system, which means you can critically, analytically, and rationally analyze things. Well, the more that you're in that fight, flight, freeze, disorientated, confused, being hit with psychological trauma. That's why in the media there's a saying, if it bleeds, it leads, which basically means the more horrific or tragic or psychologically triggering a story is, the more likely it's going to be on the front page, or the more pages are going to be taken on it. That's actually what the media do. They don't focus on giving you good news. It's bad news that sells papers because it captures the imagination. And that's why people get trapped into these things, like we said before, where they may not take the little signals in their life and take the time to help themselves and get over the shit from the past, to let go of that self-blame, shame, guilt, regret, and all the baggage they're carrying around: fear, frustration, failure, anger, anguish, anxiety, resentment, regret, and remorse, and a whole bunch of other things. It's because the powers that be, through the media, through the way life and society is conditioned, are making things so that they're in, as much as possible, that fight, flight, freeze, shite, fawn, stress state of the sympathetic nervous system, because they realize, and they realize through studies like trauma-based mind control, ultra, and whatnot, that when somebody is in the relaxation response, calm state of balance of the parasympathetic nervous system, that they can see things rationally and calmly and critically, that it becomes much harder to deceive them, because they can see a bigger picture of what's going on. Whereas when the more they are pushed into the imbalanced sympathetic nervous system stress response, the more likely it is that the person, we all do it, even a calm response. We can't take everything in the world at once. There are things we're taking so much, but consciously, some of it we're taking, others it just goes in. But the more we are under stress, the more larger percentage of what we take in will either be deleted, completely distorted, or generalized to things that have gone before, but by virtue, therefore, misunderstood and misinterpreted.
And so what happens with, how does someone even recognize that this is happening, or how.
That's
I
the
mean,
thing, generally speaking, it is almost invisible, other than deep down, if you make a conscious effort to say, rather than instinctively responding to things like you've maybe been conditioned to throughout your life, it's difficult at first till you get so used to doing it through forcing yourself that it then becomes a habit, a positive habit, to just go, hang on, before I respond or let this bother me or give an answer. Nice deep breath in, hold it for a few seconds, and out through the mouth, in through the nose, hold it, and then out through the mouth, and a third time, which is kind of the breathing equivalent of that old saying, bite your tongue and think before you answer. Except with breathing, in the manner I've just said, it helps to oxygenate your bloodstream, which helps move you from fight, flight, freeze, and shite, high alert state, closer to being in the relaxation response, so you can be more critical in a positive fashion and analytical and see the bigger picture more calmly. And when you just doing that alone, it's not going to be, I'm not claiming miracles, but just doing even that simple thing alone, you'll start to see more. And the more you do it, the more you'll become more aware of what you'd been blind to before. And the more you'll start to trust yourself. And you'll realize that in the past there have been like a gut instinct feeling that something wasn't quite right, but you didn't give your self time to step back, look, and analyze. You just went forward with it because you were being told by the so-called authority figures it was the right thing to do. Well, unfortunately, not all authority figures have your or my best interest at heart. There can be hidden agendas. So you have to start to,
Well, yeah, and
step back a bit.
even the part with telling someone to calm down or take a breath. The society has been conditioned to think that when someone says that, it's to lash out in a response to that. Like, don't tell me to calm down, don't tell me to take a breath, don't, like, fuck you telling me that. And
Exactly. That the powers that be managed to make it so that is seen to be a negative thing. In the same way as many would say, that they didn't invent the term, by the way, the CIA and all that of conspiracy theorists. Lots of people falsely say they invented it to give it that label of you're a nutter or something. They didn't invent it. It had been used previously, but what they did do was publicize and promote it and make it be that conditioned response that if someone gets labelled as a conspiracy theorist, that they're a nut job. Now, the truth is that there are a lot of nut jobs in the conspiracy theory world. There are. But some of those nut jobs will be state actors, i.e. people that the government themselves have seeded into that community to put in nut job narratives to therefore undermine everything else that's coming out. But there will be a percentage of people in every walk of life. There's a percentage of people that are wrong or a bit mad, and you know what? That's why you've got to always don't follow the so-called authority figure or the so-called expert in any area. Yes, take guidance, but get guidance from various different sources, compare them, the credibility, and then also see what feels right, what resonates as being true based on all the available evidence.
yeah, like doctors as well, like, don't just take whatever a doctor says right off the bat. There's other doctors, and not every doctor, just because they're a doctor, has your best interest at heart, or also may have just been really good at getting good marks in their schooling, and just knows how to doesn't understand why things are the way they are, but just knows how to do everything very well by the book. And
Or just was expert in a certain area, and if you were unfortunate enough to have a certain illness that fell into their major area of interest and expertise, you would be fortunate enough that you'd found the person who knew so much about it that things would be easy for you. But it could just be that the thing that is currently an issue for you, they know a bit about, but they've not gone majorly into it because it wasn't the thing that interested them the most. That's why there are specialists in certain fields as well. But and things move along. A few decades ago, the area of what is known as noetic medicine, Noetic, basically medicine of the mind over body, was very much a fringe thing, considered to be complementary alternative medicine. However, more and more noetic medicine is being accepted, and not just accepted in many areas, but also recommended for a lot of things by the so-called conventional medical arena. So in England, the NHS, for example, will now prescribe hypnotherapy. It's been shown to be highly effective for helping people with irritable bowel syndrome. And the reason for that is irritable bowel syndrome, for example, is exasperated and can be made worse through stress and being stuck in that sympathetic nervous system fight, flight, stress thing. And that hypnotherapy can help your mind and body to move more towards the relaxation response. And therefore, that has a positive impact on irritable bowel syndrome without the need for chemical drugs. So more and more things are, over the years, people are looking at things differently. A great example is, I'm just having a brain fart moment. Dr. Bruce Lipton, the author of The Biology of Belief, who is one of the leading names in the field of epigenetics, which basically means above genetics. Long story short, go and have a look at his work. He's immensely respected. And he was shouting from the rooftops decades ago, the fact that the mind, focused correctly, can cause genuine cellular genetic change in the body. Now, there were hypnotists, and prior to that, mesmerists, suggestive therapeutic practitioners, who for years mooted that they believed that if you had an imbalance, so if you were stressed, too much stress could lead, for example, to the body being triggered into making you more likely to, if you were predisposed to it, to ending up with cancer or other physical diseases. And at the time, people poo-pooed, that's nonsense, that's nonsense. Then years down the line, you'd get a lot of medical GPs going, actually, no, and scientists going, stress, they did admit that stress can make things worse and amplify. Now, they didn't say it could be the initial cause, but they did say it could amplify it. We're now at a stage where, thanks to the work of people like Dr. Bruce Lipton, that a lot more conventional medical doctors and stuff accept the fact that, there could be a lot in this as being the trigger of it. Yeah, you've still got to have that underlying thing, the genetic, but genetic and cellular change can take place through focused thought and mind power, which is a really quick overview of the kind of work that Dr. Bruce Lipton does. But The Biology of Belief is one book that I think, every human being benefit from reading. But certainly if you work in the psychological talking therapies or holistic health or, any area of medicine, I believe that it's something that people should definitely look into, because when you see things coming up again throughout history in different contexts, you have to go, why is that? Is it because either A, it's something that they're trying to brainwash you and condition you to believe, because a lie repeated enough eventually becomes the perceived truth? Or Is it because they're trying to hide something? That's why it appears in different, whilst being apparently truthful at the same time. So if anyone was ever to confront them, they can go, no, we weren't hiding it from you. It's there. It's there. It's there. It's there. It's there. It's not. But they never openly said, put all these things together. So, for example, I don't believe in any imaginary magic man or God. Thank God I'm an atheist. What I do believe is that it's almost, there's elements of the Bible that are in code. So they're telling the truth without telling the truth fully. So, for example, there's phrases in the Bible like the first must come last and the last must come first. Okay, well, we have the conscious mind, then we have the critical, analytical area or executive function, some other people refer it to, and then the unconscious mind, or at least that's the construct. There's no real proof actually of any of these, but this construct is one that seems to work quite well. Okay, so on that basis, given that all available evidence and experiences seems to indicate that we are unlike computers and the unconscious subconscious mind makes us do things. Even if our conscious mind is going, don't smoke if you're a smoker. If you've not dealt with the program running in the computer of the unconscious mind, eventually you end up giving in and having a cigarette. You've got to deal with those underlying triggers and motives. So, but the first thing is the conscious mind, but that isn't the thing that's truly doing the running. The unconscious, which is the last thing, is. So that phrase, the first must come last and the last must come first, is a clue that to solve things or control things, you've got to deal with your unconscious, subconscious mind, not just rely fully on the conscious. Even the Lord's Prayer, our Father who art in heaven. And later on, there's a line that says, on earth it will be done as it is in heaven. Let's imagine that heaven is your mind, your personal laptop computer. Because the way you think, focus, and perceive anything and everything in life is the difference between whether you see it as something to be stressed about and in the fight, flight, panic mode, or whether it's something to be calm, relaxed, happy, and comfortable about. So it's the difference between hell and heaven. On earth, in other words, in reality, externally, it will be done as it is in heaven. Well, that's just a coded way of saying what the mind of man or woman, the mind of person, can believe, perceive, it can achieve, which comes across in self-help manuals. So they're saying the same things in different ways. All the clues are scattered out there in the world.
And then, so, I mean, why aren't, with as many people who take the Bible so deeply and
literally, because then that removes responsibility from themselves, you see, doesn't it? Because if there is a God to pray to and you have to then a conscious level, that takes some of the self-blame, shame, guilt, regret, fear, frustration, failure, anger, anguish, anxiety, resentment, regret, remorse, all that negative shit away from them, because they can absorb that by I'm sorry, confession, the Catholic Church. How ridiculous. What, you can do all these things as long as you then go and then they're kind of, the slate's wiped clean. What bullshit. But if that person psychologically believes that once the priest has said to them, they go in there all stressed, the priest goes, you're now cleansed, my child, say 20 Hail Marys or whatever, and they walk away. If that person believes that, they will end up forgiving themselves, accepting themselves, releasing any or reframing and reprogramming themselves in a manner where they then believe that they're okay to continue in a relaxed manner and not dwell walking around with all that baggage, metaphoric baggage on their shoulders, which is what so many people do. So what's really happened is almost the same as what a good hypnotherapist or other therapist of a different title will do, which is to help the client to let go of all their self-blame, shame, guilt, regret, and all that negative shit that's been holding them back, and let them move into the calm, relaxed, feel-good state where they've helped to heal their inner child and overcome those different little mini traumas of life that have been holding them back, where their sense, well, not just their sense, but their elements of self-confidence, self-image, self-esteem, and self-control have been balanced out and increased, so that in turn their self-love, their self-respect, their self-worth, and their positive selfishness, their ability to look after themselves, to then be of service to others, is heightened and balanced out. So in turn their self-identity is repaired, and that gap that they felt they had before, caused by self-blame, shame, guilt, or regret, that some go and fill that gap through deflecting blame and responsibility from themselves by going to religion. Some do it by going and working out, becoming gym junkies. Some go working in charity. And I'm not saying going and helping charities or going to the gym is a bad thing, but everything should be in moderation. But what they haven't done is dealt with filling that gap with repairing themselves so they're balanced and a whole, happy, calm, relaxed, the majority of the time, because we all get unexpected glitches, individual. And that's what the key thing is. And yet they can get almost to that feeling through following a religion or following a regime, but that leaves the person dependent on that religion or that cult or that self-help system. So for example, alcoholics have Alcoholics Anonymous. Now, the first thing they do when they go in is to sit down and go, hi, my name's whatever. Not very fucking anonymous, is it? But aside from that, any 12 or 13 step program, it's 12 steps, but I'd just take the piss saying 13, program is about making you dependent, because you're always programmed to say, I'm in recovery. You know, whoa. No. When I deal, no, that means you're not recovered. So you're programming your neck computer. It's no wonder people keep relapsing at some point. It keeps them dependent on that system. Whereas blatant plug alert in things like my book, Shitnosis, helping you get over the shit in your life and get your shit together, incorporating the fuck that system, fully unconscious conditioning, knowledge therapy, honoring absolute transformation. I give people the tools so that they can be dependent on one thing and one person only, themselves. And more importantly, that they become dependent, happy, and reliant on the best possible version of themselves. A them, a you that is confident, calm, relaxed, and happy the vast majority of the time. Obviously, there's going to be moments where something unexpected occurs and you've got to do that stepping back, breathing deeply, or other techniques that are taught in the book. Of course, life has unexpected things, but you'll be able to move on and overcome them far more easily when you feel calm, relaxed, and confident. When you have got heightened levels of self-confidence, self-image, self-esteem, self-control, and the next level of the pyramid, you know, self-love, self-worth, self-respect, positive selfishness. In other words, when your self-identity, and I'm doing the pyramid almost like that purposely, I'm pointing towards the mind, meaning the personal desktop computer, the negative programs have been deleted, and using, and actually it's actually in here. One of the chapters in this book, which I'm just trying to find, is I talk about it as being deleting the negative shit from your unconscious, subconscious mind, personal desktop computer, and installing a metaphoric antivirus software for the brain. You do it on a computer, so why wouldn't you do it on yourself to stop negative shit going in and to stop the positive stuff getting messed over or there we go. One of the chapters is the mind bleach, mental antivirus. Buried and layered emotions and energies, altered, accepted, and cleansed healthily, which spells bleach. kills 100% of all known negative mind germs. And things like, I mean, there's another chapter in there called SCAT, because it's got the shit theme, but it stands for subconsciously charged analytical tapping or analytical tapping. And it's a meridian tapping system, one of the simplest but most powerful versions of it on the planet. But ultimately, the reason it works is because it just interrupts your conscious thought pattern and helps you focus and see the bigger picture of the things that you've previously been missing, so that you can move from that sympathetic nervous system stress, fight, flight, freeze area more towards the relaxation response in the sympathetic nervous system, where you're in control.
And so what, I mean, why with the pattern interrupt is just so strong, but I mean, with just as well as that can work for you, it can just as easily work against you. Like, you know,
Yeah.
with going back to the MK Ultra or anything of that nature. I mean, just that.
That's why you've always got to, that's why you need to condition yourself to take a step back, and rather, even if your gut's going, this is the way to respond, wait, because that is the way we're programmed genetic, because of the fight, flight, freeze. It's survival instinct, but it's unlikely that you're being confronted by a stray tiger. Now, if you were, then yeah, follow your gut and it says run like the fucking clappers. Or if there's a gun nearby, pick it up and shoot the fucking tiger. Obviously, that would be a totally different thing. But generally speaking, in everyday life as it is now, we don't have, it's not a total life or death situation, but the body reacts in that way. So you need to do what I said before. You need to, before you respond, take a step back, take a few breaths, gently in and out. And that will give you some clarity to see the bigger picture, because one of the things that people are taught who want to influence or persuade people, and they may have a negative intent, is, as you say, to interrupt somebody's natural pattern of thinking. And if they can do that in a manner that causes instant panic or confusion, it's easier then to, because the person goes into a state of panic, confusion, sensory overload. If you then, as the perceived authority figure, give them the solution to stop feeling stressed and panicked, so that they can feel as though they're going into an area of safety, in truth, you might not have taken them in, guided them into an area of safety. You might have taken them into the lion's den. So, you know, if you walked up to somebody in a police uniform or a military uniform, apparently with a gun, a busy place, and you went up to somebody and said, "Sir, you don't want to panic, you don't look around, but you need to get out of this building now. I'll explain everything once we're outside. Your life's at risk." Because we've been conditioned that the person in the uniform, especially if it looks like public, is there to serve and protect. Be highly likely majority of people would panic. What the fuck's going on? I'm in debt. I've got to follow the police officer. Okay. But what's to say that that isn't just somebody who's there to abduct you for whatever reason, is to just get you outside?
Yeah, and I mean, how many different social experiments have been done where they show somebody in a uniform or some sort of authority figure just being able to do God knows what to anyone just by them, you know, how they perceive themselves to be and are presenting themselves to be. And you never know. You never know who it is, or, you know, what their intentions are.
In psychology, it's called the halo effect or the white coat effect. Essentially, the idea that if you've got a white coat on and you look like that preconceived idea of a doctor in a hospital, that what you say must go. But in truth, you might just be a nutter, and this has happened in the past. People have ended up in prison when they finally go. You might just be a nutter who wandered in off the street with a white coat on to start interfering with patients. You know?
Who's going to question it? Who's going to step back and
So you need to question things more in life. It is one of the things. It's not a case of becoming paranoid. It's a case of taking that few moments going, my gut instinct. Do I feel that this is right? If you feel that something isn't quite right, hey, if it's genuinely, for example, you get a phone call, people get ripped off on the phone, people pretending to be banks or whatever, because and then when interviewed they might say, well, the person was getting angry, they said if I didn't deal with it there and then on the phone that I could be ripped off for X amount of money, or that the money I've been ripped off I wouldn't get refunded, and this, that, the other. If this was genuinely your bank, right, you would be able to say to them, sorry, I don't know for definite whether this is your number. And they probably said to you, well, look on your phone, you'll see that number's the one that's on your bank card. Well, you know what? Scamsters have found a way to make that happen so it looks like they're ringing from your bank card. Right?
Yeah.
Far better to go, I'm going to hang up now. I'm going to ring the bank. They will book me through to you at the fraud department if this is real. And you hang up. And you do not ring the number you told them about. You ring the bank and you get them to book you through. So you know for a fact you were definitely ringing the bank.
Yep.
You get them to book you. If there is any fraud on it, they're going to know. They're going to be able to see it. It's going to be flagged. And you'll end up back, and the person will not be angry with you if it's genuinely.
Yeah,
if people start getting angry, it's because they're trying to keep you in that confused, disorientated panic state, so you're easier to guide to do things. In this example, easier to then get information out of that means they can clear out your bank account. Think, take a step back. If need be, go, you know what? Take control, reverse the situation. Because when something's genuine, the other person, the other party will not, they might be a bit, oh, this is wasting a bit of time. But they're not going to be aggrieved long term.
Right. And so I think that's good. It's okay to step back and some sort
it's
of
more than
pattern
okay. It's what you should do, because that way then the pattern interrupt can suddenly lose its power.
Yeah. And so I think that's a good place to end it here. And we'll have to have you come back again, hopefully more soon than
Cool. Happy World Hypnotism Day, 4th of January 2024, everyone. And yeah, it is a blatant plug, but Shitnosis, helping you get over the shit in your life and get your shit together. And the reason I use that is not just as a title, it's not just because it sticks in your mind, bloody hell. But it's true. People talk in metaphors about, I've gone through some right heavy shit. Or, what that guy was claiming. Something doesn't smell right. It's a lot of natural metaphors we use in life without necessarily being fully aware of it. And so it helps get you used to the idea of all the clues you need are around you. I mean, ironically, in the Bible, there's a phrase that says, his divine power gave us everything we need for life. When you remove that from religion, you look at it, it means that around us, within us, is all the tools, strategies, and internal strength and abilities that we need to equal the greatest achievements of life's greatest achievers. Now, this does not mean, despite the world of neurolinguistic programming having this wonderful bullshit philosophy that possible in the world, possible for me, or possible in the world, possible for you. Bullshit. There are some things that some people on this planet achieve because they are a genetic freak of nature in a positive fashion that means they can run faster than anyone else. It does not mean that you or I can do it because they've done it. We might be able to with enough training, but no, there has to be some rational common sense applied. But if it's something that the vast majority of people who've achieved it, even they turn around saying their autobiographies, your Richard Branson, the rich people involved, they go, you know what? Started with next to nothing or nothing. I was focused. Yes, I've had failures as well, but it was about believing in myself and pushing through stuff and always remaining focused. And when you dig deep in these things, it's about the person having a good sense of self-identity, feeling whole, being committed to their mission and their values and their beliefs balancing. It's about them truly enjoying what they do, so that they're almost not even working. So although in truth they're doing more hours work than someone who'd be getting paid to do a job is, they don't see it as work. They see it as a mission, something to aim at in life. The fact that this then ends up making them rich or helping them employ tons of people, the vast majority of people with good, honest intent in the world that achieve things is because they focused on being the best possible them, taking that step back, reprogramming their desktop computer to let go of all that self-blame, shame, guilt, regret, and shit of the past, which is what Shitnosis is all about. It's about deleting the negative, installing the positive. But yeah, what clouds the issue and why some people don't realize they need to do that for themselves or get but off from it is because the small percentage of people, which unfortunately includes a lot of the people in current authority positions, governments, blah, 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 do not have our best interest at heart. They have agendas for themselves. Because of that, they focus on keeping us in that disorientated, confused, imbalanced position that stops us from feeling truly whole. And that's key number one. I mean, it takes a lot longer to explain in here and with the videos that you get access to, interactive videos, thanks to these bad boys, QR codes that you can scan and takes you to virtual online treatment and example sessions and whatnot. But you do have within you, the grass isn't greener. You know, the powers that be and the world around us, things like social medias, used as one of the psychological imbalance tools, is that it's people naturally are conditioned to show the apparent best picture of their life. You do get people occasionally putting negatives on, but if they do, the algorithms might not show you that. They want you to see people apparently getting a job promotion, having a great time, and as much positivity stuff from the other people as possible, so that you aspire to that. So that you aspire to look as good as their photoshopped or app paintbrushed photo. So you end up buying more of this company's cosmetics that happen to show up in the same timeline, going that your skin could be clearer or whatever. Everything's geared to get you to be a consumer and spend more money and buy things that make you feel like you need things. Well, that you want them, that you need them. No, in truth, you're conditioned to want them, but you don't really need them. The grass isn't greener on the other side. The grass on your side of the fence, metaphorically, can be greener, stronger, taller, and more positive than over here if you spend more time watering and feeding positively the seeds that you put into your desktop computer. In other words, you've got to be selfish to be selfless. You've got to spend some more time on becoming the best possible you.
I think that's a great place to end it there. Thank you so much for being on.
Thank you, Rusty. It's been a pleasure as always.
Yeah, I'll have you back in sometime in April and
Cool.
do the 3-month thing that I like doing here. So yeah, I hope you have a great rest of your day here, and we'll talk soon then. All right.
Thank you very much. And anyone got any questions, contact me on my name, Jonathan Royle, but by birth, I'm Alex William Smith. So if you want to find me, most social media channels, it's at Royle, Royle, Hypnotist is the tag or handle, I think they call it. But on Facebook, yes, I do have a Jonathan Royle page, but it's easier if you look for Alex William Smith and then in brackets, Jonathan Royle, because that's my personal profile and I answer messages quicker.
All right. Yeah, and I'll put that in the links for everyone or in the notes for everyone to find it with the link to make it easy. And yeah, well, I hope you have a great rest of your day. All right.
Cheers.
All right. All right. I cut him off because fuck, I hit that too quickly. Sorry. I'm sorry. Yeah, you guys, I like having him on. Sometimes I'm on more often than once a year. So, yeah, maybe I need more hypnotists on too. 'Cause fuck, like that's what a lot of this show is. So, you guys check out Jonathan Royle, aka Alex William Smith. So, look him up, find him. Check out Shitnosis. Like, It sounds like something Jim Leahy came up with, but it's not. So yeah, it's good reading. So thank you everyone for being here on the Rusty Diamond Podcast Network. Thank you for listening to the podcast, and that is the show, man. Boom.
It's Rusty Diamond, motherfucker. It's Rusty Diamond, motherfucker.